yellow shirt I own because today we're making lemon bars for a friend. And the recipe we're using today comes from the Betty Crocker cookbook. This is the newlywed edition. It gives you all of the steps and information that you need for each particular recipe, but it also gives you a lot of background information about how to store your vegetables and how to prepare your meats and any other information you need for the basics of cooking and baking. So this is one of my go-tos. We're going to be modifying this recipe a little bit. First, we'll set our oven to bake and 350. You're going to need a mixing bowl, glass baking dish, softened butter, some salt, baking powder, 2 eggs, lemon juice. It calls for fresh lemon peel, which I don't have, so I'm going to use a little lemon extract to sort of substitute that stronger lemon flavor. And of course, all your measuring instruments: flour, powdered sugar, granulated sugar, and a mixer. The first part of this recipe deals with the crust. So we are going to take some flour, all-purpose is fine, level it off, put that in our first bowl here. I like to put things away as I go because it makes things a little easier and clean up later. A quarter cup, a half a cup of softened butter. Mine's still a little cold. Add that to our bowl. Powdered sugar. We are going to level it off. You're going to mix this just with a spoon. So let's try it. Biggest thing I'm running into here is because I started with my butter being a little too cold, I might need to take a little break and come back once it's a little soft. It doesn't really want to incorporate. Definitely a sign of my impatience that I didn't let it soften enough. Actually, that gives me some time and a chance to grease my baking sheet for the next step. Alright, so real talk. I have not heard anything conclusive about what is the best when it comes to greasing your pans. I've heard Crisco, I've heard butter, I've heard oil, cooking spray. In my experience, I don't think it matters that much, but then again, I'm usually doing easier recipes. So if you want to join in the comments and tell me if there's something I should be doing a little differently based on your experience, or maybe you are an expert in baking in a way that I am not, let me know. Again, we're learning together, trying out new things. I appreciate all your input. I also appreciate you joining me here. Got that greased. I'm gonna throw away some of my trash and put a couple things away. I needed a snack. Don't mind me, I'm still just working the butter, and here I stand. Like this. Just keep stirring it and mixing in so that all the dry ingredients are incorporating with that butter. Take your pan, put your mixture in the pan, about 1/2 inch up the sides of the pan. I usually just do this by hand. Just make sure your hands are clean. And the only reason I'm doing some flour on my hands is just so that the dough doesn't stick quite as bad. Now that I've got flour all over my equipment, I'm going to make sure we're covering the bottom, but we also want to make sure you've got some of the dough moved up the sides. Trying to make sure I don't have any super thin spots at the bottom, because that's going to be the base and the integrity of the lemon bar. For me, this is a comfort dessert. It reminds me of summer potlucks, reminds me of back to school events. Just something really comforting about being able to share one of your comfort foods with someone who's maybe just needs a little help today. Just a reminder that you're thinking of them. The recipient of these lemon bars is a friend who recently lost someone. And coming from a small town, my first reaction is always to make something for them. Just a gesture of support and friendship, a sign that the community is looking out for them and feels for them. In the grand scheme of things, doesn't make things better, but we always need that reminder that someone's thinking about us. We're going to pop it in the oven for 20 minutes. While our crust is baking, we're going to take our 2 eggs, Don't forget to wash your hands. We're gonna add them to the bowl. Granulated sugar, so much sugar. The recipe calls this low calorie. I don't think it's low sugar based on everything I can tell. If you have 2 teaspoons of grated lemon peel, you can use that. I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of lemon extract. You can probably dial that back just a little bit if you want. I prefer a nice strong lemon flavor. And that's probably closer to 2. Lemon juice, baking powder, salt. Our recipe says that we're going to beat this for 3 minutes. It'll be fine. High speed. So the recipe says until light and fluffy. I'm gonna give it a little more time. I think it's light and fluffy. Our crust has baked for 20 minutes. Now we're gonna add the lemon mixture on top. Spatulas are your best friend. Bake for 25 to 30 minutes. They've cooled for about an hour. We have dusted them with powdered sugar. Got a little crispy on the edges. Again, no expert here. That's part of the whole experience. It's a little trial and error. Tasty. Presentation not so great. I've cut them up. I've put them in a container and I've dressed it up a little bit and we'll give it to our friends. Since we're baking today, I also wanted to let you know about 2 resources online that you can use to find organizations to donate to that provide food in your community. You can always go to feedingamerica.org. You can also go to foodpantries.org and you can look up any organizations in your area that work to feed your community. You can look by zip code and state, and it's a really great way to find organizations to give your time to, especially during COVID. Food insecurity is higher than ever. I highly encourage you to do a little research and check out some organizations in your area that are doing their part to address that. Also, take your vitamins today.